Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again, doing another discography countdown on one of my favorite bands. Today we are talking about the power heavy metal epic band Iced Earth. These guys have been around a really long time. I know there's some controversy surrounding their lead guitarist John Schaefer right now. Did some crazy political stuff in the States. I'm not going to really get into that. I'm from Canada. I could care less about US politics. But nonetheless, some people are saying they don't want to listen to Iced Earth anymore because of all this stuff. But just because I don't agree with what someone believes in doesn't mean I'm going to stop listening to their music. I mean, I listen to Burzum. I don't agree with pretty much anything Varg says. But great music is great music. And I still like Iced Earth. And I'm going to do a ranking on all their albums. Anyways, they have 12 studio albums. I'm going to run through them from my least favorite down to my favorite. I'm not including their covers album. They did like a Tribute to the Gods album. I'm not including that, and I'm not including the re-recorded versions like the Days of Purgatory album, although that's fucking killer. I'm just doing the normal studio albums, so let's go. Coming in at number 12 from 2014 is Plagues of Babylon. This was the second album that featured Stu Block on vocals, and I do really like Stu Block, but this album to me just really came up short. Dystopia, the first one that featured Stu, was fucking amazing, and this one just didn't live up to that at all. I really don't feel that this album's memorable in any way. The tracks just aren't that good. I mean, the title track, Plagues of Babylon, is okay. Democide is like a faster song. But overall, this is definitely the album I listen to the least by Iced Earth. It just doesn't bring it back to me for repeated listens, and that's why it's coming in last. Up next at number 11 from 2004 is The Glorious Burden. This is definitely a very American-themed album, which definitely isn't my preference, I guess. Like, lots of, like, playing the national anthem. I don't need that on a metal album, but take that aspect out of it, and this overall still has some pretty killer songs. This was the first album to feature Tim Ripper Owens on vocals of Judas Priest fame after Halford left. Then Ripper came in there, and then he went to Iced Earth after he was gone from Judas Priest. But lots of people don't like Ripper's vocals. I think they're pretty good. And this album, it's still okay. Songs like The Reckoning and Declaration Day are pretty fucking killer. The ballad When the Eagle Cries is still pretty good. But this is just lower down on my list because I like the other albums better. This is still probably like a 7 out of 10. It's not terrible by any means. It's just low for that reason. Coming up next at number 10 from 2001 is Horror Show. This is a concept album where every song is like a different horror monster. It's kind of a cool idea, like they talk about Frankenstein and Dracula and shit like that. Definitely a different kind of thing for a metal album, but it works. And this album overall is not bad. I'd give it another 7 out of 10. Best songs on here are Wolf, Ghost of Freedom, Dragon's Child is a pretty good one. This was still with Matt Barlow on vocals, who, in my opinion, is the best Iced Earth singer. But this is probably the worst Matt Barlow album. But it's still not bad. It's still not bad. Up next at number 9 is the other Ripper Owens album, and that's Framing Armageddon Something Wicked Part 1. This is from 2007. Definitely an improvement over The Glorious Burden, but I still can't put it too high. This album drags on a little bit. There's too many like little interludes and stuff, which it's just filler. I don't need that. But there's still some really good songs on here, like the title track Framing Armageddon. Whoa. Absolutely killer fucking song, and Ripper's vocals in there are absolutely amazing. For that song alone, this album is pretty good. I still can't rate it higher than like a 7 out of 10. But some other good songs, The Clouding, 10,000 Strong. Just overall, pretty decent record, just not their best. Up next at number 8 is Incorruptible. That's the most recent album, still with Stu Block. That's from 2017. This one was a vast improvement over the Plagues of Babylon. This album's actually pretty killer. I'd give this one like 7.5 out of 10. The Great Heathen Army, great fucking song about Vikings. Seven-Headed Whore is cool as fuck. And Clear the Way, that's just like a classic epic Iced Earth song with like the old style. And overall, this is a pretty good fucking album. I would definitely still listen to it, and I still do. And that's why it's coming in at number 8. Moving on to number 7 is the last Matt Barlow album, The Crucible of Man, Something Wicked Part 2. This is from 2008. He had already left the band. Ripper Owens came in for a couple albums. Barlow came back to do just this one album, which is kind of cool. But this is, yeah, not the strongest Matt Barlow album, but there's still some killer songs. Kind of like Something Wicked Part 1 of the Framing Armageddon album. There's a lot of filler on here, a lot of little interludes that aren't necessarily needed, but there's still some good songs on here. Divide Devour is the heaviest song on the album. It's absolutely killer. I love Come What May. Behold the Wicked Child has a cool riff. All in all, still a pretty decent album. Coming up next at number 6 from 1996 is The Dark Saga. This is another concept album all about Spawn. I'm not really into comics, so I don't necessarily know the whole story, but based on all the lyrics and stuff, I basically know what's going on. And this is a pretty good overall album. It's not quite in their stellar stuff. This is like an 8 out of 10, but there's some killer songs on here. I Died For You is a nice softer one. Violate is heavy as fuck. Slave to the Dark and Vengeance Is Mine. Absolutely killer songs. All in all, a really good album. Just didn't quite make the top 5. So now let's get into that top 5. And in at number 5 from 2011 is the first Stu Block album, Dystopia. I absolutely love this. This was the first album with Stu on it, and he fucking knocked it out of the park on this one. I was so stoked. This is like an absolutely killer album. It's a nice return to form for Iced Earth. Really killer stuff on here. The title track is great. Boiling Point and Days of Rage are both fucking thrashers, really heavy songs that are awesome. And there's also a lot of good ballads on here, like The End of Innocence. Just all in all, a really good Iced Earth album, and that's why I cracked the top 5. Up next at number 4 is the debut from 1990, self-titled Iced Earth. Absolutely killer. I almost wanted to put this higher. Some people don't like the vocals on here, but I think they're pretty good. It's interesting. It's its own unique style, but the songs on here are just fucking amazing. The title track, When the Night Falls, is epic. Colors, Funeral, Life and Death. Like, this whole album. How do I not have this higher than 4th? Not looking at all these songs. Like, they're such fucking killers. And, like, these are the classic Iced Earth fucking songs. So goddamn good. And that's why it's ranked really high on my list. Up next at number 3 from 1995 is the first Matt Barlow album, Burnt Offerings. This is definitely the heaviest and darkest Iced Earth ever was, but it's great. I love the vibe on this album, and there's great fucking tracks. Burning Oasis, the title track, Burnt Offerings, Brainwashed, and of course you can't talk about this album without the epic closer, Dante's Inferno. I think it's the longest song they've ever done, and wow, just fucking epic. Amazing, amazing song. This album is worth it for that song alone. Just fucking great slab of power metal. And that's why it's at number 3. So there's 2 left. And for me right now at number 2 from 1998 is Something Wicked This Way Comes. This is my favorite Matt Barlow album, and it's a fucking killer. This is the album that really got me into Iced Earth. Kind of started with Burnt Offerings, and then this one I was like, whoa, fuck yeah, this is the one. I get it. Then I went back and listened to the older stuff, and the first couple albums blew me away too. But Something Wicked This Way Comes. If you've never heard Iced Earth, that's probably their most accessible, easy album to get into. There's a lot of ballads, but also a lot of really fucking killer, thrashy, crunchy songs too, like The Burning Times and Disciples of the Lie. Melancholy is a great fucking ballad. But this album is really all about that last trilogy of songs. So fucking killer. Prophecy, Birth of the Wicked, and The Coming Curse. Yeah, those 3 songs to end the album. Absolutely killer way to end the album. Worth it for that alone. But that leaves just one album, and it is their second album, Night of the Storm Rider. Once again, the vocalist is maybe not the most accomplished. I think his name's John Greeley. Also, John Schaefer does some vocals on one song too. But I absolutely love the vibe on this album. It's got that old school feel. The riffs are amazing. The triplets Schaefer plays on here are just nuts. He's just a rhythm guitar master. And the songs on here, I could go through like every song. It's just such a good album. Angels Holocaust, Storm Rider, Desert Rain, The Path I Choose, one of my favorites, Pure Evil. And probably my favorite on the album is Travel in Stygian. Just the epic long song at the end. Absolutely amazing. This is a fucking killer album. If you've never really given Iced Earth a chance, definitely go listen to Night of the Storm Rider. That might change your opinion on them. It's a great fucking heavy metal, power metal album. Anyways, that's my list. Let me know down below what your favorite Iced Earth album is. What's your least favorite? Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.